On a quiet American street at the turn of the 20th century, a man flips a switch, and nothing happens. No spark, no flame, no coal smoke. Yet, the lamps glow. Not because of wires running from a power plant, not because of fuel burned miles away, but because the air itself has been persuaded to give up its energy. This is not science fiction. This is not fantasy. This is a true forgotten chapter of American history, one that was erased so thoroughly that even the question itself sounds impossible today. The world before the plug. In the early 19th century, America was not yet chained to copper wires and monthly bills. Electricity was not thought of as a product, it was a phenomenon. Scientists, inventors, farmers, architects, and spiritual thinkers all believed the same thing. Energy was everywhere. In the sky, in the soil, in vibration, in motion. Nature did not hide power, it overflowed with it. Benjamin Franklin had already proven that lightning and electricity were one and the same. His kite experiment was not just a stunt, it was a declaration. If electricity came from the heavens, then it did not belong to kings, corporations, or monopolies. It belonged to everyone. This belief shaped an entire generation of inventors who saw electricity not as something to be generated, but something to be collected, like rain, like wind, like sunlight. The forgotten philosophy of energy. Before power stations and grids, electricity was understood very differently. 19th century physicists believed in what they called the ether, an invisible medium filling all space. This ether was thought to carry light, magnetism, gravity, and electrical force. Today, ether theory is dismissed in textbooks, but for decades it was the foundation of real experiments. If ether existed everywhere, then energy existed everywhere. The only question was, how do you tap into it? Nikola Tesla was not alone. Modern culture reduces Nikola Tesla to a lone genius, misunderstood, eccentric, defeated. This is convenient, because Tesla was not an exception. He was the last survivor of a much larger movement. Across the United States and Europe, inventors were independently developing technologies that did not rely on fuel, combustion, or centralized control. Tesla simply went further and paid the highest price. But before him came dozens of names history rarely mentions, names erased from patents, names buried in local newspapers, names whose laboratories burned down under mysterious circumstances. The age of atmospheric electricity. In the mid-1800s, American scientific journals were filled with discussions about atmospheric electricity. The air was not empty, it was electrically charged. Scientists measured voltage differences between the ground and the sky. Tall structures naturally accumulated electrical potential. Storms were not the source of electricity, they were the release of a constant tension already present. Inventors realized something shocking. You did not need generators. You needed height, conductivity, and resonance. Church steeples, factory smokestacks, iron towers. These were not just architectural choices, they were electrical instruments. Lamps without wires. In the 1870s and 1880s, demonstrations shocked audiences across America. Glass bulbs glowing with no visible power source. Metal rods planted into the ground, lighting entire rooms. Public exhibitions where inventors would cut wires and the lights would remain on. Newspapers reported these events with awe, not skepticism, because people saw it happen. One such inventor was William Crookes, whose vacuum tubes glowed simply by being near electrical fields. Another was Nathan Stubblefield, a Kentucky farmer who claimed to transmit power wirelessly through the earth itself. Stubblefield powered lamps, telephones, and motors without generators using what he called earth batteries. Today, textbooks say he was mistaken, but witnesses said otherwise, including U.S. government officials. The Earth as a battery. The idea was radical only by modern standards. The Earth contains massive electrical currents, telluric currents, that flow constantly. Railroad engineers had long known this. Telegraph operators frequently complained that natural earth currents interfered with their signals. Inventors asked a simple question: if nature is already moving electricity, why not use it? Metal stakes driven into the ground, especially where different soil compositions met, produced measurable voltage. Copper and iron combinations worked like natural batteries. Some inventors reported power levels sufficient to run small machines indefinitely. No fuel, no smoke, no wires stretching across cities, just ground and sky. Nikola Tesla and the Wardenclyffe Tower. Tesla did not invent free electricity. He perfected it. His Wardenclyffe Tower, built on Long Island in 1901, was not a radio tower, as later claimed. It was a planetary energy transmitter. Tesla believed the Earth itself could be made to resonate electrically, like a tuning fork. Once resonating, energy could be transmitted anywhere on the planet without wires. He proved it. In Colorado Springs, Tesla lit lamps over 26 miles away without wires. He created artificial lightning bolts over 100 feet long. He demonstrated that the ground itself could carry power. And then, the funding stopped. J.P. Morgan's question. J.P. Morgan initially financed Tesla, but then he asked one fatal question: where do we put the meter? Tesla's answer doomed him. You don't, Tesla replied. The power belongs to everyone. Within months, Morgan withdrew funding. Wardenclyffe was abandoned. Later, it was demolished. Not preserved, not studied, not continued, destroyed. The rise of the electrical monopoly. At the same time Tesla's work was buried, another system rose: centralized power generation, coal-fired plants, oil dependence, copper wire networks. Electricity became something you bought, not something you accessed. Thomas Edison's direct current systems required constant fuel and infrastructure. They were inefficient, but controllable. You could bill for them. You could shut them off. You could monopolize them. Free electricity was not just inconvenient, it was dangerous. Cities that shouldn't have worked. Look closely at 19th century American cities. The World's Columbian Exhibition of 1893, often called the White City, was illuminated on a scale never seen before. Thousands of lights, minimal visible infrastructure, temporary buildings, yet extraordinary power. Official explanations claim massive generators, but photographs tell another story. Unusual towers, decorative spires, ornamental domes with metal finials. Architecture designed not just for beauty, but for energy collection. Why the records vanished. By the early 20th century, something changed. Scientific journals stopped discussing ether. Textbooks were rewritten. Experiments into atmospheric and earth electricity were quietly abandoned. Inventors who persisted were ridiculed, bankrupt, or disappeared. Patents were seized or classified. Museums stored devices without explanation. Children were taught that electricity only comes from power plants, and the question itself became absurd. The final erasure. When Tesla died in 1943, the U.S. government confiscated his papers. Not scientists, not universities, the government. Many documents were never returned. Others were heavily redacted. What remained painted Tesla as a dreamer, not a threat, which was the greatest lie of all. The silence that followed. Free electricity technologies were not destroyed in a single moment. They were erased gradually, by ridicule, by omission, by rewriting education. A civilization does not forget by accident. It forgets by design. And this is only the beginning, because buried beneath patents, architecture, forgotten inventors, and suppressed experiments lies a deeper truth, one that explains not only how free electricity once existed,